J.R. House is officially the Arizona Diamondbacks' new third base coach, and we have more from his introductory press conference this morning. Also, if a player gets snubbed, but they weren't going to win an award anyway, does it really matter? We have more on Geraldo Perdomo, who at least is our MVP, not being an MVP candidate for the National League. All of this in 30 seconds. Don't you go anywhere. SkeeYee, and welcome in to another edition of the PHNX Diamondbacks podcast, live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. It is I, your mayor of PHNX, occasionally known as Derek Montilla, and also occasionally known as an instigator to the Dodgers fan base. But of course, I am not alone, and I am not the main instigator. The one, the only, the main character in the Dodgers universe is the one, the only Damon Dog, aka Damon Farrell. He is on the ones and twos today.
I hate you too, Dodgers fans.
Almost 2,000 of them showed up on yesterday's episode, and we just thank you for the views. We thank you for the views. We thank you guys all for being here, and we do appreciate it during a time of the year where it's not easy to get a lot of baseball fans interested in our headlines, but we got you last time, didn't we? This show is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Of course, make sure to use that code of PHNX when you sign up. Get yourself $20 off your first order. Terms do apply over there. Get yourself some cheap last-minute ticket deals. And I did want to just address a few things about yesterday's podcast. I know we went on and on and on about the lodged ball situation in Game 6 of the World Series. I know I also said something about them being 1 out away when they were 2 outs away. My apologies.
Idiot.
I really did not care. I don't care. I don't care.
Do
if
some
it was
research.
The Diamondbacks, I would have made sure every stat was correct. But I don't care about you guys winning your World Series. I am petty. And yes, I will cry more, as many of you requested that I do. But while we do think the lodged ball play was completely ridiculous, I will say that it was a heads-up play. And you guys ended up winning that game and the World Series because of heads-up plays like that. And even though I hate it and I think it's stupid, it's within the confines of the rules, and the umpire made the call. So who am I, who is Damon, to sit here and say that it was idiotic? But what I will say is, it lacked maybe honor, which who cares about that, right? When you're trying to win a championship.
When you're a Dodgers fan, that means absolutely nothing.
No, I mean, to be fair, we at times don't care about honor on this show either. We have said, like, why didn't you lean into a pitch to get on base, right? Like, I would say those things
when you're in the playoffs. When you're in the playoffs.
Right, when you're in the playoffs. I'm just saying that this is one of those situations where it's not, You're not going to look the best except to your own fans because it was a heads-up play and you did have it go your way.
Now, Derek, I need to say this.
It's still just the biggest joke that they were able to just gingerly pick the ball up and throw it in. However,
I will sell my soul to win 100%.
I know you will.
But the Diamondbacks are the team of friendship. They have the power of friendship. They are one of the most likable teams in the league.
Oh, we are so
say that we are in, like, we would be in their shoes in their circumstance.
No,
I don't know what that's like.
No, Corbin Carroll would have never put his hands up. He would have gone for that ball. He would have thrown it in. He would have played it honorably.
100%.
But hey, that's just how we do things.
Dodger
over here.
Baseball.
It doesn't get you championships, obviously. So maybe we're in the wrong to do things with honor around here. But also, imagine checking in on a rival team's podcast, Damon, and expecting them to heap praise upon your team. We hate the Dodgers around here.
Good.
So if you come here seeking anything else but us being absolutely ridiculous towards your team, you came to the wrong place. But shout out to the YouTube algorithm.
Put Shohei in prison.
Yeah, there you go. That's for you guys. That's for all of you guys. Well,
mic drop.
We're going to talk about Shohei later, but first we do have to talk about the Arizona Diamondbacks making the signing of J.R. House as their new third base and catcher's coach official today. He rejoins the Dbacks after spending the previous 7 seasons as the Reds' third base coach and catching coach. Previously spent 7 seasons with the Dbacks in their development system as a hitting coach with rookie A. Missoula, and also with the Hillsboro Hops. He was the manager of Hillsboro Hops back in 2014. He was the manager of the single A Visalia Rawhide back in 2015-2016, and double A Jackson, which is no longer part of the organization, back in 2017, and a minor league field coordinator. Over the past 3 seasons among NL teams, Reds catchers posted the second fewest catching errors behind only the Dbacks, and combined for the 4th highest caught stealing percentage behind the Phillies, Cubs, and Giants, something the Diamondbacks catchers have been very, very bad at this season, as many of you know. I feel like the run game, running on the Diamondbacks, the word is out in regards to that, and that is something that a lot of teams have been doing. He was also the 2015 California League Manager of the Year with Visalia, and as a minor league manager, he produced a career winning percentage of .573, going .284 and .212, and he resides right here in Phoenix, Arizona. So, of course, it's just great for J.R. House to be back here with this organization, and it was interesting to hear today from JR, from Torey Lovullo. First, we did get word that Tim Bogard did have interest in returning as the third base coach to this team. So this was actually, even though he was given the job as the interim third base coach when they relieved Sean Larkin of his duty over there, this was not a permanent stay. This was something that the Diamondbacks went out and they did have a job search for this position, and they did want to find somebody that they felt was very right for this position, and apparently House was that guy. Torey also did say that he is someone that they've tried to get in the past, and that his experience meant quite a bit here. Sean Larkin, of course, didn't do a great job, and a big part of that was the lack of experience that Larkin has as a third base coach. So I guess it's understandable here overall that they would go somewhere with, go with someone with more experience, and also someone that knows the Diamondbacks organization so well. J.R. House did, discuss, of course, the fact that he is familiar with these players and knows quite a bit about all of them. But again, this was this hiring really feels like it's more about the, again, not just what he can do at third base. We know that was a huge problem for this team. I feel like him taking over the catching coach responsibilities from Jeff Bannister, who kind of flew under the radar there. Not a lot of people were aware that Jeff Bannister was the catcher's coach for this team, but he was, and Torey addressed that today as well. But of course, we have, I think we have video here coming up shortly from the press conference, but
very shortly, Derek.
Again, this is. These are something that this is something the Diamondbacks needed to do to help get back to their identity. And their identity is what got them as far as it did in 2023. It was solid defense, which at least up to this point, Sean Larkin is still going to be a huge part of that defense. But also it's about the base running and of course what the catcher is going to be doing behind the plate for this team. I'm telling you, man, the numbers for even James McCann, for Gabby back there, were subpar as far as throwing runners out and just some of the defensive metrics for catchers. So again, this is something that they needed to address, and a big reason why I feel like they went with J.R. House here, beyond just his experience at third base and what he's done for the Reds there at that position, but it's also what he can do for this team, what he can do for, specifically the catchers and Gabby Moreno. Gabby is such an important part of this team. He's such an important part of what the Diamondbacks are building going forward. But again, it felt like he took a step backwards defensively last year. And quite frankly, it feels like he's kind of regressed defensively ever since he had that stellar stellar season back in 2023. But I think we do have more here from J.R. House, who had to be one of his first lessons here was turning his camera the right way during the media availability. But I think we have here what he had to say about joining this team and, kind of what he's going to bring here as a third base coach and a catcher's coach.
I mean, for me personally, it's knowing our team and their characteristics as thorough as I possibly can. Like their ability to make plays at the plate in regards to sliding, avoiding tags, cutting the corner, who we can press and who we can't. Who we need to be a little bit reserved, and it's just not in their repertoire to be able to make those types of plays. For me, that's the most important thing, and like who we can really challenge when those risky plays, are needed. Because it is like if all you're doing is just putting your hands up all the time, like you're gonna lose a lot of runs that way. We got to be able to take some risk and be aggressive and score, but also be safe. So it's really, really important. And knowing your guys, it's going to take a little bit, but knowing your guys and their heart and their want to score is really, really important.
All right. Well, of course, we know what his experience is. We know what the Diamondbacks here are looking for. We know that because we've had to go through what this team has gone through this year. So again, it's great to hear that what his strengths seem to fit some of the Diamondbacks' weaknesses. But we also have Torey Lovullo here talking about what drew him to making this decision, and he did make it known that this was his decision to J.R. House, and why Torey felt like he was such a good fit for this team.
Well, I've always been drawn to him, and as he mentioned, and as you asked the question, right? He's coming home again. This is an organization that he is very familiar with. Some of the faces have changed, players and staff, but as he mentioned, there's a lot of familiarity. So that, of course, was a driving factor. But between me and him, and my respect that I have for him as just a baseball mind and as a teacher, is pretty immense. And to be honest with you, we've tried for several years to bring him back. We just, it wasn't right for him. It wasn't right for the situation. But when we reached out this time and we decided that we were going to make this happen, of course, I felt great about it. He's got great major league experience. He's a great teacher. So when you're drawn to somebody the way that I have been since I've met him, and then you watch it play out on a baseball field, it's a great match. And we're lucky to have JR for sure.
Kevo in the chat says Torey's Zoom name being T Lovullo, as if there would be another Lovullo in the Zoom, is funny. I wish it was T Love, quite frankly. I wish he just went with T Love as his Zoom name. I might convince him to do that. But also, Torey jumped in and did give J.R. House a bunch of crap about not being able to have his phone positioned correctly for the Zoom meeting. So you can already tell that there's a there's a relationship here. There's a repertoire between these two, and it's good to see. Of course, another thing that we know based on what Torey and Mike Hazen have both told us, that this team is looking to get back to that identity in 2023. And I asked Torey about what made JR just such a good candidate for getting them back to that defensive and base running identity that we knew and loved as this team creating chaos.
We have an army of people behind the scenes that includes JR that are going to help that identity. And JR just spoke about a few things that he's paying attention to when cranking guys at third base. It's a hard position. Nobody knows how difficult it is until you get out there in real time, and it's a challenge. Like I said, the thing that drew me to JR is his baseball mind, his willingness to teach and learn, and then is just a baseball junkie, right? I'm a baseball junkie. I want baseball junkies around me that's all they dream about and think about. So that was the first thing. I don't want to undersell that. But with his knowledge and his ability to be as familiar as possible with every arm in the outfield right now, because he has this experience, that was a big drawing factor. And then his success, and I've watched him send runners right in front of me with great success. And there's always a reason for it. And when it happens and we do throw somebody out, I know that, okay, it wasn't a killer out. So I think there's a lot of calculus that he does out there that I'm really comfortable with. Now, I want to make sure, yes, he is a part of our running equation and base running equation, and being aggressive and helping us create an identity. That's the fierceness of his coaching style that will help us get better, because I know what he's about. He's going to go out there and he's going to make base runners better from second to third and third to home for sure.
By the way, that's the point of view of the chicken parmesan on Sunday dinner right there. That's exactly what the chicken parmesan sees when looking up at Torey. But he is right. Torey talked about how many factors obviously go into being a third base coach. How much how much has to be decided in a split second, and how one of the traits that a good coach like J.R. House is the ability to be decisive in those moments and also taking into consideration all those factors, the arm strength, the score, the runner's speed, just a lot of factors that a third base coach has to take into consideration. However, here with being the catcher's coach, he also has a lot to take into consideration with helping call the game, helping these pitchers call the game, helping the catchers call the game for the pitchers. And that is going to be a big part of House's involvement. Here's what he had to say about how he calls games and how he helps the catchers get better.
I think it's knowing the guy on the mound, knowing exactly what his strengths and weaknesses are, what his capabilities are, how brave he is, like all of those things, not putting him in bad situations to hurt the team because you're trying to ask him to do something that he's not good at. And we just have to inundate ourselves with serving those guys and making sure that we're totally ready to put those fingers down, which would now press the buttons to make sure that we're giving him the best opportunity for success. And that's first and foremost. The situation of the game, the strengths, who your opposition is, all those things come into play, but they are secondary compared to knowing the dude on the mound and taking care of him.
Jason Armstrong says J.R. House 100% wearing black Vans. I was thinking the checkered slip-on Vans, but either way, I think we're on the same page there in regards to his footwear.
I kind of love his energy.
I really do. I mean, I agree with you.
Like I have confidence in him from hearing him talk for 2 minutes, Derek. That's not even an exaggeration. I don't know if you feel the same way, but that feels like a dude that is convicted in what decisions he's making.
Well, and again, this is no knock at Banny, right? But I haven't heard Jeff Bannister discussed much as the catcher's coach, nor have I heard much of the game calling being put on him or questioned of him. I just really haven't seen that myself in his time as the catcher's coach for this team. And again, it'll be interesting to see how House can impact the pitchers through the catchers, and also how he can work with Kaplan to help develop these pitchers and help, I guess, flourish these relationships between the catchers and the pitchers, to know, like what he said there, what their strengths and weaknesses are and how to play into those, and not to ask a pitcher to do something that they're not going to be able to do for this team in the middle of a game, right? But I also think here that there is something to be said, and Torey discussed it with us in regards to Jeff Bannister not having that also on his plate when Torey already asks so much of Banny. Torey and Jeff Bannister have a very close relationship, and if you've ever watched this team for an entire game, you know how often you see Torey Lovullo go to Banny just for advice. He relies on him quite frequently. You see him, just conversing with Banny. You see him asking Banny about if they should go to review. He's usually the one on the phone talking to, the rest of the coaching staff. But it feels definitely like Jeff Bannister has, a primary function here as like Torey Lovullo's right-hand man, almost as a second manager in the dugout. And the responsibilities of also being a catcher's coach is quite a bit. Here's what Torey had to say about the decision going into making J.R. House the catcher's coach, taking that off of Bannister's plate, and again, why Banny is so important to him in the dugout.
Look, we have two really good teachers, and I just felt like to get JR here, I wanted to give him that responsibility as well as being our third base coach, because it was going to allow Banny to pull back and be more by my side. Giving Banny more responsibilities like an assistant manager, which he already is. I wanted to strip him of everything I possibly could so he can focus on one thing, being closer to me and being more like a manager, thinking like a manager. He already does that. So if you were to ask him, what will change? I know the answer is going to be nothing, but he's not going to have to worry about a conversation that he's going to have with a catcher in the bullpen at 2:30, and going over some plus and minuses from what happened the night before and teaching. He can be more engaged with me in my office, more engaged with me about some of the things that I want to do, more engaged with me about the responsibilities of what I'm talking about for that evening's game. He is totally available to me at all times, and like an assistant manager. That to me is going to make me better. It's going to make the team better. And I felt like at the end of the day, that was going to be the best decision for this ball club at this very point in time. JR, you wait till you see what some of his catching, teaching styles are, right? I'm always blown away whenever we go into Cincinnati, the amount of teaching that's going on. Not that Banny wasn't. I just think JR is able to spend every minute of his day doing one thing, being a catching coach. Banny could, but when I pulled him away from that, he was my priority. So I would pull him away from that, and I would not allow him to be an every moment catching coach. We have an every moment catching coach right now, and that was very intriguing to me.
There's also something that appeals to me, Damon, about the third base coach being the catching coach. Like, I feel like that makes a lot of sense. I do understand it from the perspective of, like Bannister can converse with the catchers in the dugout, but he as Torey said there, he has a lot of responsibilities beyond just doing that. I feel like the third base coach coming back to the dugout and sitting with the guys, he even in that instance is going to have more flexibility to coach and teach the catchers in the dugout in the middle of a game, rather than Jeff Bannister, who has to continue to focus on everything else going on. Jeff Bannister has to continue to focus on the batters hitting, and he can't exactly just turn and start working with the catchers and giving them his full attention. So it
seems like it could just have things run more efficiently, right?
Right, for sure. And yes, I would have played more of that if Killer Rex was here, but we went ahead and shortened it up. So appreciate you guys. Damon is right. I have no power around here. I have no control. I'm one level up above AI myself. So, and Ryan is right. Yeah. I'm wearing sleeves today. I'm also wearing a collared shirt. It is in fact election day, but we're going to take a quick break. On the other side of this break, we have more to talk about, including Mike Hazen's right-hand man sticking around and Geraldo Perdomo possibly being snubbed for the MVP award, depending on which side you fall on. We're going to talk about that on the other side of this break. Don't you go anywhere. You're watching the PHNX Diamondbacks show. 'Tis the season for over $80 million in prizes over at Arizona Lottery, and it is the best time of the year for you to get down, not just for yourself, but to give gifts to loved ones. You can play holiday tickets from Arizona Lottery for the chance to fill your stockings with cash and to fill the stockings of others with Arizona Lottery scratchers. There are 6 festive scratchers to choose from, including Cash Countdown, which has up to $250,000 in prizes, and Candy Cane Cash, which smells just like peppermint. So, that's just a joy to scratch, whether you win or lose. But you can also dash to instant prizes with Holiday Fast Play tickets. And when it comes to holiday gifts, holiday scratchers are the best place to start. Whether you're a planner like me, or you're buying your tickets, or you're buying your gifts on the last minute on your way to the event, like so many of my friends, make sure to stop and get yourself and your loved ones some Arizona Lottery tickets. Play and gift today. Must be 21 or over to play. Rally House also is our go-to spot for all of your Arizona sports team gear. And now is a great time, right? We actually are winning around here. This is what winning feels like. U of A won, ASU won, the Cardinals won. We're not playing baseball, but I feel like we won with JR House. So now is a great time to get yourself some new team gear over at Rally House. And of course, go to a place that only has Arizona team gear. You can shop their entire selection and make sure to get yourself fitted for tailgates with drinkware, coolers, signage. It doesn't matter what you're looking for. If you need your fit right, they got hats, they got jerseys, they got everything you need. They have shop locations in Tempe, Mesa, and Glendale. And every time you visit Rally House, you're guaranteed to find something new, unique, and that matches your game day vibe. Find your local Rally House location and shop their entire product assortment online at rallyhouse.com today. Well, of course, we have a lot of things going on in baseball, believe it or not. It went from no news to all the news for us, and we got some news in regards to the Colorado Rockies hunt for their new general manager, and this might be good news for the Diamondbacks because this just might mean that Amiel Sade is staying right here. We just talked about how important Jeff Bannister is to Torey Lovullo as not even like a right-hand man, just as basically a confidant, somebody who Lovullo trusts and sees as being equally important to himself in decision-making and in experience. And that is definitely something that could be said about the relationship between Mike Hazen and Sade. He was one of 2 finalists for the Colorado Rockies head of baseball operations job. And apparently, according to reports over at The Athletic, he is no longer in the running for the position. Neither is Cleveland Guardians assistant general manager Matt Foreman. Both apparently, who were the Rockies' 2 finalists for the job, are no longer finalists for that position. Sade was at Coors Field for his final interview last Monday and was believed to be the favorite of the 2. It's unclear how close the sides came, according to this report, to having Sade preside over a Rockies team that was abysmal in 2025 in the National League West division that he's extremely familiar with. But again, not sure if Sade will continue to seek out other positions or if other teams could be interested in a similar fashion the way the Rockies were. It feels like only a matter of time until Amiel is swooped up by another team. He's just too good of a baseball mind. And, you know, again, it's a good thing for him to go on and to elevate up in his career, right? He deserves it at this point. However, at least for the time being, this is a good thing for the Diamondbacks and for Mike Hazen because it very much feels like he is important to Mike, and this offseason is important to this franchise, to this organization. It's important to Hazen and Torey Lovullo. Like we said, I know Hazen's contract isn't up, but Torey Lovullo's is in 2026, and with things changing and 2027 being a nightmare on the horizon, it just feels like there could be a change overall should this team not find success with Torey Lovullo not being brought back and Mike Hazen potentially not being brought back either, being let go, right? So not saying that that's purely speculation, but again, it's reasonable to believe that the organization might want to go in a different direction after all of this chaos is happening and you know, just in general, the position that they're in for the 2026 season with these injuries and everything else. But of course, a lot of executives, a lot of people were nominated for some awards. If you missed it, I'm not surprised that you missed it because as we talked about yesterday, baseball once again did an awful job of making it known that their awards were being given out. They did it like during Monday Night Football. And like I saw barely any people on my timeline talking about it, but they named all of their finalists for their major awards, including their Most Valuable Player Award, their Cy Young finalists, their Rookie of the Year, and their Manager of the Year. And again, I don't know what to do to help baseball. Like there are so many times where there's nothing going on. And I know I sound like a broken record considering that the time of the year when baseball is off is when everything's happening. So there's always an NBA game, NHL game, NFL game, something going on, big college basketball game, big college football game. I get it. You can't avoid it completely. However, I don't feel like the MLB even does a good job of putting their information out there, advertising when it's going to be. It's just suddenly an hour before the event, you see something pop up. And I know the calendar. I look ahead. I kind of have a show to do where I should be informed about this stuff. However, when you look ahead, it's hard to like remember it when you aren't being inundated with advertisements for it in a similar fashion that other leagues and other organizations do similar things like this, right? But again, the finalists for MLB's 4 major end of season awards were announced yesterday, including, like I said, the Jackie Robinson Rookie of the Year Award. And the biggest one that we are focused on, obviously, is the National League Most Valuable Player Award. award. We did not think the Diamondbacks were going to have a rookie, a Cy Young candidate, nor did we ever think that Torey Lovullo was potentially going to be a manager of the year candidate. However, again, he deserves a little bit of respect there. Killer X isn't here, right? Yeah, okay. There's a little bit of respect there considering what he was able to do with this team and the broken parts that he was given. But the 3 finalists were named for the National League Most Valuable Player Award. And of course, Shohei Ohtani is at the top of the list, along with Kyle Schwarber and Juan Soto. And the big question here is, why isn't Geraldo Perdomo's name on this list? We are going to do this quite a bit, and I imagine that even when it comes to the Silver Slugger Awards actually being given out, there's probably going to be some snubs there for the Diamondbacks that we are furious about.
But there's one, Derek. There's one where we actually riot.
This one, we riot if Perdomo doesn't win his Silver Slugger award here.
If they rob Perdomo of an All-Star appearance and a Silver Slugger in one season, Derek, we absolutely riot. He led the National League in WAR, not named Shohei Ohtani, who also pitches. And if you were going to give it to Mr. Solo Shots, Francisco Lindor, be my guest. But he's not as good of a player as Geraldo Perdomo and Trey Turner. I mean, what are we even talking about at that point?
And you're right. You're 100% right. But meanwhile, in the MVP awards, it's hard to you can easily make a case why Geraldo Perdomo belongs among the 3 finalists. There's no doubt in my mind. But you look at the other 3 names. You look at even Juan Soto, right? Juan Soto is probably the guy there that you would maybe start an argument about, his place versus Geraldo Perdomo. But Soto hit a career high 43 home runs this year. He led the National League with 38 stolen bases, and that's more than triple his previous career high in steals. He also had 105 RBI, 120 runs scored, and led Major League Baseball with 127 walks. Also, that caused him to have the best National League on-base percentage at 396. So when you look at Soto's numbers and you compare them to Perdomo, although comparable, you have a hard time there suggesting that Perdomo deserved it much more than Juan Soto, considering the statistical categories that Juan Soto led all of Major League Baseball in, or at least the National League in. Meanwhile, Kyle Schwarber is a DH, as is Shohei Ohtani, and Shohei Ohtani is a magical unicorn criminal that gets away with everything. And there's no doubt in my mind that Shohei Ohtani is going to win this award, right? I think that anybody would be ridiculous to expect anything other than that. And if Perdomo was here, he would just be another runner-up along with Kyle Schwarber or Juan Soto anyway. So, and I mean, again, I do take into account the fact that Perdomo, unlike these guys, plays shortstop at a very high level and, plays it for the majority of the season versus Kyle Schwarber and Ohtani both being DHs and Juan Soto playing DH but also being a right fielder, right? But I'm with Schaff. I'm just happy that he's a Diamondback. And again, I don't know how much stock people put into you being named an MVP finalist or you being named a finalist of this award or that award and not winning it. I do think it pads your resume. I do think it's an illustration of how good you were that year. And quite frankly, I mean, there's so many baseball players. It's an honor to be considered one of the top 3 best baseball players in the league for any single player, So I think that's the reason why we kind of get bummed out here. We felt like Perdomo had, his MVP caliber season and deserved at least the acknowledgement of that. However, it is what it is. I don't know if it's the biggest snub in the world, nor do I know if, if you could even suggest that he had a chance to win it over Shohei Ohtani, right? So I don't know. I would love to hear from you guys and how you feel about that, because again, it's always a personal feeling, but do you care that a player gets nominated even though you know for a fact they're not going to win, or is it a moot point considering that they didn't, that they weren't going to win the award? So
I think for a player like Jerry, it would hype this fan base up a little bit, right? Because he's kind of the emotional leader of not only the team in the locker room, but also I think the fan base. Jerry is just the guy who makes people happy, the guy who brings good vibes to the table. And I think him getting that recognition.
If they make the playoffs, I think that this is a different conversation.
Probably.
Especially in regards to Juan Soto and the Mets that didn't make the playoffs. But considering that both the Diamondbacks and Mets missed the playoffs, even though the Mets was a catastrophic failure, you can't help but say, like, okay, well, it's hard to argue that one guy was more valuable than the other, right? Ohtani was a bum at times during the playoffs, right? So even he has like things that you could say against him, but it's hard to not
at the plate, yeah.
You know, it's hard not to say that Dodgers team rode him in the exact way you do somebody that you're paying that much money to, and he came through for them time and time again this season to the point where no team wanted to even pitch to him during the playoffs. So again, it's not necessarily just because Ohtani kind of ran out of gas in the playoffs, that's an indication that he's not the most valuable player. But playoffs-wise, Yamamoto deserves all of the awards. He also deserves a Cy Young, and he will probably win that as well. Looking at these other categories, I mean, it feels like a lot of the awards are fairly obvious to me. I feel like Tarek Skubal is going to win his second Cy Young in a row. I really like Caleb Durbin from the Brewers. I think he has a good chance to win the National League Rookie of the Year. Nick Kurtz for the Athletics better win the AL Rookie of the Year. That man finished with 173 OPS plus. 173 OPS plus. Oh my God, it's incredible. So, and then National League Manager of the Year. It's hard not to argue with what Pat Murphy did for the Brewers, and of course, he is a former Sun Devil. So we will do everything we can to support our guys as well. So Pat Murphy,
bear down.
He should be. But hey, who do you think in the American League? Dan Wilson for the Mariners or John Schneider for the Blue Jays? Which of those two guys stands out to you as having done the better job?
Man, pretty close, right? Because they're both two teams that are very talented, but not like expected to be there.
Yeah.
I think the Blue Jays spent more, but I almost want to say John Schneider, even though I just think that the Mariners have such a damn good staff.
I know.
I feel like I could go win with that pitching staff.
Jerry DiPoto deserves a lot of credit for what he did to assemble that team for sure.
Yeah, and the Blue Jays, they have a really good team, but they also have some guys that are not as heralded, right? Like an Ernie Clement or
Big Earn Dog,
Addison Barger. Like these are guys that are not super well known, but they are making huge impact.
My favorite tweet I saw was someone say, "I didn't even know who Ernie Clement was a month ago, and now I would die for that man." And that is how fast athletes can change. By the way, the World Series, very, very watched, very popular. The great job by Major League Baseball in regards to the interest that has grown in the game. And of course, this is why it's so stupid to think that they're going to squander it in 2027 with a labor dispute. So don't even get me started on that. But we don't have time to get started on that because right now is time for us to get on to opt-out season. And we're going to do that on the other side of this break. Some crazy opt-outs have happened that we weren't really expecting, and this could impact the Arizona Diamondbacks offseason quite a bit. They still don't have a lot of money to spend, but the options are increasing as far as who they could pick up this offseason. We're going to talk about that in 2 minutes. Don't you go anywhere. You're watching the PHNX Diamondbacks show. Well, everyone needs a checking account, right? And our checking accounts do very little for us besides give us a place to store our money and then watch that money deplete. And hopefully you make some back. But you want a checking account that gives back to you, and Mountain America Credit Union has a checking account that is for your lifestyle. It is the My Style checking account, which has perks just for you, including restaurant deals, mobile phone protection, telehealth access, and so much more. They can get you identity protection, which is very, very important. Look, we don't even have to worry about people stealing our identities anymore. Now we have to worry about artificial intelligence stealing our identities. So get down on the identity protection. They also have discounts on loan rates, offers on travel and events, and so much more. Make My Style for your lifestyle at Mountain America Credit Union. Visit macu.com/mystyle to apply today. Insured by NCUA, membership required based on eligibility. Some benefits require no cost registration activation. Terms, conditions, and exclusions do apply. And you know how much we love Shady Rays around here, especially with how forgetful this guy is right here. And you know the moment. I know the moment. I feel that moment of dread where I start checking my pockets. I start checking everywhere. Did I put it in the back of my neck? Where are my sunglasses? You immediately start retracing your steps only to find that your sunglasses are lost. Well, if you have a pair of Shady Rays, you do not have to worry about that being a permanent condition, because Shady Rays has the craziest lost and broken replacement plan in all of eyewear. Even if you lose or break your Shady Rays on day one, they have your back. They will send you out a brand new pair, no questions asked, no hassling, just a few easy steps, and you will get yourself a new pair of sunglasses. And it has changed the game for me, because I don't worry about losing my sunglasses anymore. For some reason, I don't. It's a peace of mind thing, and I think Shady Rays for doing that. I also thank them for their amazingly stylish frames, very durable, as well as their crystal clear optics with their polarized lenses. Do not miss out on the color rush lenses that they have for an additional charge. Those lenses will blow your mind. So check out Shady Rays. We've teamed up with Shady Rays to bring you an exclusive offer. Head to shadyrays.com and use code PHNX for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Well, Damon, it is opt-out season around here, and we know we've covered the dates here for Major League Baseball. We know free agency begins the day after baseball ends, the day after the World Series ends, so it began on Sunday, but teams do have 5 days to negotiate with their players and determine about club options, player options, mutual options, which basically is meaningless. It means neither one. We're not coming back together. We're never, ever, ever getting back together. And that's what this week is all about. It's also about qualifying offers. The Diamondbacks will offer a qualifying offer to Zach Gallen, and we'll wait to hear. I'm sure that's already been done. We'll wait to hear what his decision is in regards to that. But we have had already a number of players opt out of their options, and for the most part, none of them are really a surprise. However, there were some shockers in there, and we're going to talk about that, as well as if those players could potentially fit for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Spoiler alert, the answer is most likely no. And the reason why is cost. All of these players are opting out of their deals because essentially at the end of the day, they're seeking more money than those deals essentially are guarantee them, right? And that's a big thing here. Pete Alonso, longtime New York Met, no surprise there, opting out of his deal with the Mets. He finished 2025 with 38 home runs, 126 RBI, and 871 OPS. His numbers up dramatically from the end of the 2024 season. He finished 2024 with a 788 OPS, and he is set to hit the open market. And he is a guy that obviously could be of great use to the Arizona Diamondbacks, but according to SpotTrack, his annual value is around $30 million. They set it at 29.4. And that is quite a bit out of the Diamondbacks budget. That would be, as we've discussed, the majority of their offseason budget. And since their priority is pitching, they absolutely cannot even consider a free agent position player for that much money. That also would probably eliminate Cody Bellinger, who after his 2.2 B-WAR season with the Cubs in 2024, had himself a killer year with the Yankees, posting a 5.1 B-WAR in 2025. He opted out of his deal with the New York Yankees. He has said that he wants to go back to New York, so there's a good chance that a reunion is possible with that team, especially considering the deep pockets that they have. But he is seeking over $30 million per year. And again, that's another thing that would probably price him out of the Diamondbacks budget. We talked about that when we talked about bringing Belly home, and we said the only way that it could be feasible is if he plays both the outfield and first base at the same time. And unfortunately, I don't believe the rules in MLB will allow him to do that, nor is it physically possible. But, I mean, it would be pretty much the only way they could bring him back. Alex Bregman opted out of his deal there, and he has 2 years left on a 3-year, $120 million deal, making $40 million a year. Now, it's deals like this where I can't really wrap my mind around opting out of that much money that's still guaranteed to you when I am but a normal person that makes a meager salary. The idea of declining $80 million essentially guaranteed to you after you had a rough finish to a season, that saw you just record 7 home runs and post a 724 OPS in 63 games. You spent 2 months on the injured list with a right quad strain, and you're doing nothing but getting older every single year. And of course, Piece of Yoshi says he wants more years. I think every player wants more years, and it makes sense because, again, at the end of this 3-year deal, he's older. He could be less coveted at that point, and this is an opportunity in his prime, essentially, for a team to give him that security. And I could even understand taking less of an annual value there overall to essentially have that peace of mind of those years of guaranteed money. However, it's still crazy to be like, nah, I'm good on that $80 million for the next 2 years because I think I'm going to get more than $80 million, right? I understand knowing your worth, but I also understand like there comes a point where you are being paid as an athlete, as a human being, more money than you're ever going to be able to spend in your lifetime, most likely. And it's just crazy that, again, it's more about seeking out more money than even that. I don't know, but I get it. Then we're going to go over some of these pitchers that are doing something very similar. Ha-Sung Kim, he had 1 year left on a 2-year, $29 million deal, much more reasonable, understandable there. He signed that deal with the Tampa Bay Rays as a free agent last offseason. And
that one's pretty surprising, right?
I mean, he only played 24 games for the Rays in 2025.
And $16 million is a pretty good chunk of change, is it not?
Right, and he was picked up off of waivers by the Braves in August. And, like, you have not only that amount of money, but you just went from playing for the Tampa Bay Rays to playing for a Braves team that, quite frankly, could be very good next year.
Yeah, they could.
Braves are just always going to be good. They have a solid core, and they're due. They're due to get back into it.
Yeah,
right?
The 1 seed, and then they've missed the playoffs the last 2 years. They're due to be back, and they spend enough money. I actually
$16 million player option.
That one is wild.
Cut from a team, man. I mean,
I would be interested in bringing him in actually, Derek, if as a utility infielder.
Oh yeah, no,
depending on the price.
But again,
if he's opting out of that, it feels like it's completely unrealistic.
Like you want 20 plus, or again, looking for a longer term deal than just the 1 year left, right? And I get it. I mean, these guys are at that age. There's a very small window for baseball players to be free of the team that drafted them and prove their worth and get that big contract that they want. And in some cases, they end up kind of toiling away on these 2-year, 3-year deals. But if they have a season where they feel strongly enough about investing in themselves, opting out makes all the sense in the world. Kim hit 234 with 5 home runs and a 649 OPS this year. I mean, I get that it's a very weak market, as they are saying, for free agents, shortstops this season. But still, it's just like, I don't know. I mean, I guess, again, if you can guarantee yourself a few more years, maybe a lesser annual value, but more money overall over the course of a contract with a team, it would make sense. But those are all the position players, and outside of Kim, most of them, all of them are going to be far too expensive for the Diamondbacks. And even Kim is sounding like he could be too expensive, especially considering that the Diamondbacks need to focus on pitching. As far as pitchers are concerned, there are some elite pitchers on the market who, once again, might be out of the Diamondbacks price range. However, if they are going to go for it all again, if they're going to spend big on somebody, I would prefer that it was one of these pitchers, especially the elite relievers that have opted out of their contracts and are available on the market. Robert Suarez, he has 2 years left on a 5-year, $46 million deal. He's quite frankly one of the best closers in Major League Baseball. He led the National League in saves with 40, and he posted a 2.97 ERA. He was an all-star this season, had a 2.3 BWAR. Quite frankly, the only thing that scares me is that the Diamondbacks have picked up the guy that had the most saves in baseball from the Padres before, and it did not work out. Another guy, though, that is very interesting is Edwin Diaz. Not for the Diamondbacks, because, again, this is a guy that's far out of their range as far as price range is concerned. But Edwin Diaz having 2 years left on a 5-year, $102 million deal. He was the highest paid reliever in all of Major League Baseball until Jordan Montgomery went to the bullpen, and then he was number 2. But Diaz has opted out after another stellar season in 2025. This was his 3rd time that he threw more than 60 innings and posted a sub-2 ERA. He posted a 1.63 ERA in 2025. And the last time he was a free agent, the Mets jumped as quickly as we've ever seen a team jump to sign him to that $102 million 5-year deal, which was a record for relief pitchers at the time. But here, with quite a bit of money still left on that deal, $60 million essentially left, it would appear that Edwin Diaz wants to hit the free agency market and see what he can get, for sure. And that's, look, I would pay Edwin Diaz. I would pay him. We have suffered with this bullpen situation for so long that I would pay Edwin Diaz. And I'm 100% convinced that if we did, he would come here and promptly post a 4.7 ERA and be one of the worst closers in baseball. And I don't know. That's just because I'm hurt and my soul is bruised, and I don't think I'm ever going to recover from what this team's bullpen has done to me historically. But again, just interesting for someone that did achieve the highest, the highest contract in baseball to be opting out here. Maybe now he'll just set the record once again and beat his old record. The most interesting pitcher and the breaking news that we've kind of been dealing with over the last few hours has been Shota Imanaga opting out of his deal. And I mean, it was a weirdly structured thing. There was a $57 million club option for 26, 27, 28. If the Cubs declined, Imanaga received a $15 million player option for 2026. So the Cubs opted against picking up the 3-year option for Imanaga, and then Imanaga turned around and declined the 1-year option, making Mike a free agent this offseason. The Cubs can still extend him a qualifying offer worth roughly $22 million, a little bit over that. But this is interesting overall because Imanaga, again, he's 32 years old now. He did regress some from his rookie season, but he posted a 3.73 ERA with a 0.99 whip in 2025 for the Cubs, and still just a solid rotation guy. I feel like the honeymoon is over with Imanaga. The reaction to this from a lot of Cubs fans, at least on social media, seemed to be like, goodbye, take you and your 30 home runs allowed and get out of here, right? So I don't know if, obviously, if fans felt like he was worth the $57 million. But Damon, I mean, in this world where we are talking about Zach Gallen having a down year and not getting the contract he expects, but still getting paid more than the $22 million, $22 million the Diamondbacks could pay him for the 1 year and the qualifying offer. Like, it seems crazy that a team would take somebody that has a solid presence in the rotation like this and turn down the ability to have them be around for less than $20 million for the next 3 seasons.
Yeah, I think it bodes some questions as to what the Cubs think about him long term.
Correct.
Maybe injury wise. Maybe,
age. He's 32. I mean,
he doesn't
old,
throw hard. He's not a hard thrower.
Yeah.
I was mentioning to you before the show, like, there are games where it feels like Shota Imanaga is just getting pummeled. And maybe the Cubs have fears about other teams kind of figuring that out.
Yeah.
Where he's not going to be as effective, after his first 2 seasons in MLB. So who knows? But definitely a pitcher I'd be interested in. No?
Yeah, well, Piece of Yoshi says he is conversely also a fly ball pitcher in the best ballpark to be a fly ball pitcher in half the time, I suppose. So, yeah, I mean, there's something to be said about that and how you view him playing, in opposing ballparks at other times. But I just still feel like value-wise,
he also said he's also a fly ball pitcher in the worst ballpark to be a pitcher in half the time, depending on which way the wind's blowing.
Which way the wind is blowing at Wrigley, that's for sure. But I don't know. A lot of these guys, again, are probably going to still be out of the Diamondbacks price range. However, a guy like Imanaga could be very valuable to this team. And despite the fact that, he has that mid-3 ERA, 3.73 ERA, that would still be the best ERA besides Ryan Nelson on this pitching staff. So again, the idea here that the Diamondbacks could add somebody like that, have him be a solid number 2 or number 3. Corbin Burns returns. You got Burns, Imanaga, Nelly, Fott, Erod, or whatever the hell they do for that other starting position they're going to have to figure out before opening day for 2026. And suddenly this pitching staff might not look so bad. And again, he declined the $15 million player option, and there's a good chance he could decline the 2022 or $22 million qualifying offer. Diamondbacks already have that money kind of set aside to offer to Zach Gallen, and we know he's most likely going to decline it. So maybe they can make a push for Imanaga, and I think maybe he would be a good fit for this starting rotation. Again, just an improvement from what we currently have. But again, remains to be seen how any of this impacts. What we do know is that at least this is going to impact the market and either positively or negatively impact, the Diamondbacks' ability here to do the things that they need to do in free agency. The hope is that because of the free agent pitching market being as abundant as it is, that the Diamondbacks will still, again, the more names that get added to this list, the cheaper of options the Diamondbacks might be able to find, or maybe at least guys willing to accept a shorter term deal that allow the Diamondbacks to get out of this short term hole that they're in pitching wise. But we are going to take a quick break. On the other side of this break, we're going to hear a little bit more from Torey on watching the World Series, and also talk about today being the most important day in Arizona Diamondbacks history. But before that, I wanted to let you guys know that we are taking over Mullet Arena once again this Friday. Me, Kevin, and Max, we did it a few weekends ago for wrestling, but now we're doing it for hockey. Join Leah Merrill and the PHNX hockey crew at ASU Hockey, taking on the Colorado College Tigers on Friday, November 7th. The package includes pregame meetup at University Sports Bar on Mill with food and drink included, a game ticket in section 107 for Sun Devils versus Tigers, and of course, immaculate vibes with your favorite Valley hockey crew. So make sure to join us for that. But like I said, today is a very important day in this franchise's history, perhaps the most important day besides the day we were awarded this team. And that is because today in 2001 was when the Diamondbacks won their one and only World Series, beating the New York Yankees in Game 7. And of course, this is an incredible day. Incredible day in our history, a day that should be celebrated. And right now, a bunch of the legends are out at Salt River Fields getting ready to run a Diamondbacks camp. So what a great week to maybe reminisce a little bit about that amazing hit in the World Series, that amazing win, and then go and hang out with those exact legends out at Salt River Fields. But we did, before we get out of here, talk to Torey about watching the World Series. And I think if nothing more, this will once again make you feel like Torey Lovullo is one of us. This is what he had to say about watching the Dodgers win their second consecutive championship.
Very close, right? I'm a baseball junkie, right? I mentioned that. So this was the best time of the year. 2 years ago, I was in that dugout. This year, I'm pulling weeds in my front yard, right? It just doesn't sit well with me watching a game that I want to be a part of. So it becomes very motivating to me to be at my absolute best. So that's what I did. A lot of soul searching as I was watching it. So that's why I watched it with such great intent. The Dodgers are the Dodgers. They're a great team. And the thing I like about it is we play them 13 times and we hang right with them, but we know what we got to do to be as good as them every single day. I found it extremely motivating as I was watching it. I hated that it happened, that they won back-to-back. I was pulling for the Blue Jays for 1,001 reasons, but it didn't happen. The Dodgers are the world champions, and we get a very front-facing look at them, and we got to be motivated and prepared to compete against them and play at that level to win a world championship.
1,001 reasons. I just needed to reiterate that because that's how we feel here on this program. But we thank you guys again so much for joining us. We appreciate your time. Tomorrow we will be back with more on this FBI investigation into Tony Clark and the MLB Very interesting, very small headquarters for that organization. So make sure to join us for that. In the meantime, you can follow us on Twitter. I am at @cap_caveman with a K. Our dog, Damon Dog, is at Damon Dog with a DAWG at the end. And we are all Damon's dogs. Bark, bark. Our show is at PHNX_Dbacks, but as always, all roads lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We thank you guys so much for your time. Appreciate you guys stopping by. Hope to see you tomorrow right here at noon. Until then, hope you guys all have yourselves a wonderful evening. Behave yourselves, Deborah. And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when you have yourselves a new coach that inspires you.
We all silly like the mayor.